I'm Etzion from Haifa, Israel. Today is the 19th of July, 2025. We continue our session, first with, as usual, with a musical piece from our last concert in Tzipori. You heard it last week. Hear it again today, another piece. I told the story of Tzipori as a place where we performed. My Haifa wind band under the conducting of our maestro Shiri Kahana, a great musician. And she is the one who succeeds to make us put us together. Without her or any other conductor won't be able to do it. You cannot put a few dozens of individuals together and make them work as one without taking a very great deal of heartaches and headaches. It's not simple. So just imagine what it takes to construct the spiritual circles. 144,000 individuals work together with perfect accord. This is a nucleus of the spiritual government on earth. It was presumably suggested in the book of Revelations of John the beloved, Yohanan, the beloved disciple of the Master, who is the only one who didn't run away, or at least he came back, or the others ran away, or the Mandali. They took Yeshua or Jesus for the crucifixion, all the Mandali ran away. But at the site of a crucifixion, there was a John, the mother, and Mary Magdalene. And Jesus said to John, "Behold, this is your mother." He gave him the authority. But then came Peter, the other guy, Petros. These two guys, they grabbed the responsibility for themselves and created this so-called, what called later on Christianity, which was manifested in the 3rd century. And these were performed as a basilica built during the 12th century, during the time of Crusades. It's in ruins, but they say it's a magnificent place and has a good acoustics. Anyway, whatever it is, our role is spiritual people lovers to reconstruct a spiritual government on earth. As long as we don't do it, suffering will continue. Humanity doesn't know how to adjust and balance the karma. They keep on broadcasting bad thoughts, non-stop judgments, non-stop creating most of humanity, in, let's say 90-95% of humanity. There's no idea whatsoever how to handle the mental apparatus and to broadcast good vibrations to the creations. They have no idea how to do it because nobody is teaching them. If you know the churches, hardly anyone does it in the proper way, unfortunately. Okay, continue reading the book of Genesis. We are on Yosef or Joseph, one of the most remarkable stories ever in the history of literature. What an amazing story. Joseph, as I said before, when the Greeks translated the Hebrew into Greek, wherever there is Y, they turn into J. Why? I don't know, Yosef in Hebrew, to add up. And also this Yud, Yeho, is part of the name of Yahweh. The name of the Godhead, or what I call Yahweh Elohim. What is Yahweh Elohim? Is a fraternity of the perfect masters, the culmination of the goal of creation to achieve grip of individuals with super consciousness, 7 planes, whatever there is, working as one, and this is a monotheism. Monotheism is not a rule of one king of the heavens on all of this, some separate individuals not working like this. It's sometimes of all the individuals are working together with perfect accord. On this plane, we cannot comprehend it. Why? Because we are not doing it, don't have the experience. You have to work, participate in a symphony, in an orchestra of a perfect master or advanced soul, and have the experience of oneness. Otherwise, it is all just theories. It's one of the most charming and terrifying stories contained in the Torah. Yosef was born with Hevel consciousness. He's a member of Yahweh Elohim circle. Hevel, Hevel and Cain. Hevel is a spiritual man. He was born was already born, to my understanding, as six plane master, the same level of Moses or Moshe. And Baba said on Moses, he was six plane master, and Yosef was the state of Yaakov. Yaakov became perfect when his name was transferred to Israel. Israel meaning the God man. The whole idea, the whole story of the Torah here is telling us about states of consciousness, how states of consciousness are being formed, how to, in the sojourn of each individual, how he achieves all these states of consciousness, and the role to play in order to rehabilitate humanity. We are in the deep fall of humanity to matter, and the Godhead is doing extraordinary efforts to redeem humanity, put it back on our feet, on our spiritual feet. And unfortunately, we know that this attempt failed. And we study this not to talk about past failures, because everything here is updated for today, as we will learn later on. It's all open. There's a circumstance, a possibility, which was provided 3,000 years ago, cannot be provided again for this time. I don't see the Meherabad, for example, and other masters. The 19th or 20th century tried to re-establish the spiritual government in a national scale. They were doing because of works to trying a group of disciples to work together with harmony. And then if you study the life of the Baba's mother, you can see it was very hard. There were constant conflicts and problems. It's not a simple thing to create a spiritual circle, even for the avatar. His brothers, born with a mixed consciousness of Hevel and Cain, are jealous of the boy whose mind dwells in higher planes. His father, Israel, the God-man, loves him as he loved Rachel. The never-ending story with Cain repeats itself time and time again. Cain, what you call Cain, rises up against his brother Hevel to kill him. Cain and Hevel are reborn again and again. Hevel is committed to helping Cain, who murdered him in the previous episode. And creation is obligated to give Cain a chance to rehabilitate his spiritual status. Hevel keeps on sacrificing himself in order to save Cain. And this would set the record for later on, for Yeshua or Jesus, that he is obliged to take this sacrificial role on himself. Jewish haters use these harsh stories contained in the Torah to attack the Jewish people, but they only attack themselves. This nation is actually a sample representing the entire human race. We have all participated in these stories in one form or another. The divine hierarchy, which I call Yahweh Elohim here, has worked in many parts of the world in an effort to restore mankind to its spiritual status and role on earth. But humans have chosen contrary. The facts on earth speak for themselves. Evil, suffering, cruelty, wickedness, obtuseness, and stupidity everywhere. Wherever people gather, dirt, disease, crime, and other ills prevail. All these are the result of the free will of humankind. My intention is not, of course, in abusing humanity, and all I All I am looking for in this article is the hidden psychological aspects of the Torah. The fact that the forefathers of the nation, who included these stories as well as the tales of many other failures, indirectly proves the truthfulness of the Torah. These people had courage, integrity above all. The nation's leaders could have erased or written these stories 25 years ago, which would have prevented much suffering from the Jewish people. The stories of the Torah touch on the deepest psychological layers of all of us, and we must look at things and draw conclusions. The Torah is actually a mirror that we are obligated to look directly at it and see the reality in which we find ourselves, and to observe without fear. Later we will discuss this phenomenon of hatred of the people of Israel. It is a disease from which many suffer. The whole phenomenon of hatred is a symptom of mental illness. A person who hates another person is actually a hater of a hidden aspect of himself that the other person represents. I will quote it a little bit from the Torah itself. Yaakov lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan, which is today we call it the Promised Land, or Eretz Israel, or Arabs call it Palestine, or southern Syria. The Arabic Empire, this strip of land was called Janub el-Sham, southern Syria. So Jacob Yosef, young man, skip all this. The plan of Abraham of rehabilitating humanity culminates with the appearance of the 12 sons of Yaakov, Israel, who must begin to restore the divine orchestra on earth. But right from the start, the process starts on the left foot. The boy Yosef, who is supposed to represent heaven in this system, the spiritual aspect, while the 10 brothers, apparently Benjamin, also represented heavens. So there were 2 brothers on the heaven side and 10 brothers on the Cain side. Supposedly, it doesn't be accurate, are supposed to represent Cain's aspect, the earthly, material aspect. These two opposites must work together in harmony if we are to establish a human system that works in harmony with the cosmic rhythm. Yosef, the pampered boy, probably not careful with his tongue, seemingly right, but still not wise. A wise man is careful in what he says, thinking carefully before uttering a word. It's not the case with boys, often, who are subjects of internal compelling impulses. We see the Torah stories as allegories for mental processes that are constantly taking place within us. The chapter, which seems to me to be critical in the history of the Jewish people, describes a situation that is happening all the time. What is the meaning of the many-colored coat? Yaakov loved Yosef the best and made him a very special coat with many colors. And just imagine those days what it would take to make a colored coat. It's just you need a whole industry for this. It involves a very complicated process of creating colors which absorb in the fabric and don't wash off during laundry. Kings and ministers wear colored and impressive garments. Possibly the Yaakov Israel envisioned that Yosef would become a king, so dressed him with royal garments, and this stirred up his brother's rage. He knew that Yaakov prefers Yosef before them, but Yosef was destined to be the conductor of the heavenly orchestra, to direct his brothers on the path of spiritual training, so they will understand how to rehabilitate humankind. When the brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Yosef had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers say to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. "Listen," he said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" Israel and his family, Joseph's visions seemed to be as youthful pranks, but he brought upon himself a wave of resentment for his family, including Israel, who attained divine consciousness in such a mind. A person is supposed to know beyond what the ordinary person sees. You should know that Joseph is supposed to be the conductor of the choir, but he is already a member of what I call the Jehovah Elohim Circle, system of supreme beings working to restore the human race. But for his own reasons, Israel is using his status here as Yaakov, the limited person who seemingly cannot see beyond the veil. Yaakov doesn't disclose to his family his exalted spiritual state, that is, lest his children would react from fear that might hamper their spiritual progress. This happens with master often that they move from, even they are being stationed on a omniscient state, which is the seven spans of the all-knowing. They often revert, they don't like to disclose it, and they often play as if they don't know what's going on. You have this story of Sai Baba, of Shirdi. Somebody brought him a baby. The baby was naked. And Sai asked, "Which gender is it? Is it a boy or a girl?" But he could see it. Still, he was playing the role, not to play, assume his role as God in human form, because it would repel the people. He want the people to accept him as just as a brother, as a friend. It's very hard. Brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Now we can understand here from this statement that as Israel, he knew what's going on. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem, today Nablus. And Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them." "Here am I," he replied. "Here am I." Notice all the time the advanced soul, when they're being at rest, they're being like God is calling Abraham. Yes? עוד רבע שעה, אני פשוט עסוק עם איזה שיחת זום, אני אהיה עוד רבע שעה אצלך. אוקיי. My neighbor asked for help, still living in the world. The father is sending to his brothers who are already determined to kill Joseph. And what it is, if he knew it, why did he send him alone, without a guard, without anything? And then he sent off from the valley of Hebron. From Hebron to Shechem, it's about 3-4 days walk, even with an S. It's pretty far over the hills, and there are no paved roads like today. When Yosef arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I am looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here," the man answered. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dotan.' It's, let's say, some distance away. I don't recall now, maybe, let's say, few 40 kilometers maybe. But what is this man appearing all in the middle of nowhere and directing Yosef? Because Yosef was destined to be sold to Egypt. We'll understand what the story is behind it later on. So Yosef went after his brothers and found them near Dotan, but they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," they say to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we will see what comes of his dreams." When Reuven heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. "Let's not take his life," he said. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the desert, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuven said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. The story of Cain and Abel repeats itself over and over again. And here too, the brothers plot to murder the annoying brother. Don't approach him for explanations. The personality of Yosef pushes to surface the dark layers which are deeply rooted in the minds of his brothers. Represent here the human race, but has fallen from its spiritual status. So when Yosef came to his brothers, they stripped him of his coat of many colors he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty. There was no water in it. The sages of Israel, there was no water in it, but snakes and scorpions were inside the cistern. 12 children of Israel are all supposed to be members of the circle of Yahweh Elohim, the suggested to name the supreme hierarchy that governs the world. If we do not experience this, then the obvious question arises: from where I invented this? In my humble opinion, things are simple. In fact, we are all invited to this exalted circle that is open to all people. The admission requirement is very simple. A person cannot allow any tinge of resentment to dwell in his mind towards anyone. There is no excuse to mention uncompromising integrity, a person who prefers to be killed rather than to lie, who keeps his word at all costs, and so on. But the initial condition I mentioned is the basis. And whoever fulfills it observes the Shabbos, and whoever bears any grudge within him violates the Shabbos. Shabbos is a state that we want to reach, and this is a condition of entering the spiritual circle. In a way, Shabbos is the seventh plane. The last is we spoke about 7 days of creation. Shabbos is Saturday, the seventh day. We have discussed this in the very beginning, in chapter 1 of Genesis. Continue this next week. Okay. Stop the